This is what it looks like when you take off the mask that everybody prefers to see, the happy, the charming, the go lucky, the helpful, all of the positive attributes any human could have, the mask of pretending that everything is fine, everything is okay. When you take the mask off and you look in the mirror, that's what you see in yourself. The fear that overwhelmed you, that overpowered you from doing nothing. You wanted to flee. You wanted to get out of there. It was coming directly at you. But your body betrayed you. You froze. All you can do was just wish it was over as quickly as possible. Standing there, frozen like a statue, unable to defend yourself, unable to resonate some type of plea bargain for him to stop, just to stop. You do anything to appease him, to accommodate him, just to make it stop. And yet, it continued. He's gone now. He's left for the day. But you're too much in shadows from last night to do anything. So you take the time that you have to yourself and you ruminate on what happened. You fantasize about leaving. You fantasize about getting out. But yet, you feel as though you can't because you're stuck. You're afraid to reach out. You may not know how to reach out. Your trust in others has been determined that the one that proclaimed to love you used you and abused you, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. So you sit there and you think over and over and over again, trying to come up with different scenarios, how you can just leave. And yet, all you can do is just sit there and fantasize about reclaiming your freedom. When you're allowed to leave the house on your own, given that one special day to go into town, to get on the bus and go into town and look at all the things, take your time, and be able to enjoy the outing, the free time that you have to yourself. But it's difficult because of the noises that are around you, the people, the vehicles that come and go, all the sounds. And because you've been so hypervigilant for so long, anything out of the ordinary that you're not used to can startle you, can scare you. So it doesn't seem to be quite the enjoyable outing that you had looked forward to, that you were given permission to enjoy. No, it's quite the opposite. So when you take the bus back home, instead of just watching the scenery go by, house by house, park to park, you just stare into space. Your mind removes you from that situation, trying to help you, give you some peace. You don't know what's around you. You're hypervigilant no longer. But that's what the brain does. And that's why we dissociate. You've dreaded this moment all day. the moment when you can hear his footsteps walking towards the door. You're not sure what mood he's in. It's unpredictable, and that scares you. You can't prepare yourself for it. You can't assume he'll be in a good mood because often he is not. You become hypervigilant, suddenly aware of everything in the room, even down to the smallest piece of lint that you missed when you vacuumed earlier. That'll be a problem. He'll see that. I need to get rid of it quickly. You want to try to reach for it. It's just a piece of lint. But to you, at that moment, it is life or death. You can't move because you're too hyper focused on the mood that he'll be in. As quickly as possible, you need to be on your toes to be able to know, to see his face, to know a heads up, to know what kind of mood he is in so you can make a quick plan, either a plan of appeasement, a plan to brace yourself for any impacts or verbal abuse. This is what it is like when faced with the unpredictableness of living with an abuser. The bruises that rise to the surface from the night before or from a couple of days before will in time fade eventually, but the memories of how those bruises came to be, the fist, the back of a chair, the footprint on the back of your leg being kicked down the stairs, those memories that originated with those bruises, they will take much longer to fade. Much, much longer. When you finally claimed your freedom and you are no longer with him, when he's 3,000 miles away, and where you're safe, things you are familiar with, and you have the entire bed to yourself, a part of you may think, I'll be fine now. I'll be okay. It'll be like none of it never happened. I'll forget it all. You're lying to yourself because the things that happened to you, they're still inside your subconscious. And at night, when you drift off to sleep, your subconscious takes over. The night terrors, the nightmares, summoned from that day's activities, unpredictable. You don't know what's really causing them. You try to figure it out. You get medication. You take the medication in order to have a good, uneventful night's sleep. But over time, you realize that you have to learn to cope. You have to learn to manage. And you also have to figure out how to gently, gently allow others to understand what you're struggling with. When you've come so far, reclaiming your freedom, and you've improved quite a bit, you start to take a little risk here and there. You start to encounter things that you wouldn't have done a year, 2 or 3 years ago. But when you've built up the confidence within yourself and you feel strong and you're ready to go out into the world and meet people, build those networks of friendships, learn how to trust again, learn how to believe in the goodness of others. Something happens and it makes your world shatter. You go back to second guessing yourself, absorbing all the blame. Then things get worse and you feel as though you're where you were 3,000 miles away. Your body is safe. There is no actual threat. But because of the trauma from the past, and even though you've worked hard for a very long time to heal that trauma, something as minor as a mistold joke or a misunderstood statement or the slight criticism of your appearance, those can take you back to the fear, the ruminations, the dissociation, the pain. And that is just a fragment of what it is to be diagnosed with PTSD from a 16-year long abusive marriage.